We've been playing around with the brush and the brush settings panels, and now let's look at a real world example of creating our own brush. Now, inside of here in our brush preset panel, there's all sorts of brushes that come preloaded inside of Photoshop. But if you select the cogwheel here in the upper right of the brush presets panel, there's actually quite a few more brushes that are hidden away under here that are built into Photoshop. So let's say I want to work with some calligraphy brushes. I can go ahead and select that, hit append, and it will add all of those brushes down here at the bottom inside of Photoshop that I can then work away with. So there are quite a few more. Just be aware that you can load inside of Photoshop here in your brush panel. Now what I want to do is I'm going to reset these brushes here just back to the default setting here. I'm not going to save my existing one. What I want to do is create my own brush tip. And it's a fairly easy process inside of Photoshop to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now let's create this in a new document so that we can use it inside of this existing one. So I'm just going to say File, New, and that's fine. I'll just leave it at the default settings here. Now what we're going to create is sort of a star looking brush. Let's imagine that we're going to be painting maybe a sky scene, and I want to paint a bunch of stars in the background. And I don't want to go individually paint every single star because there's going to be hundreds. So let's go ahead. We're going to sort of maybe paint a star that's this basic star shape that you may see like this for our custom brush. So we're going to start off by making a shape that's sort of a diamond shape right here that we can use for our star base. Then we'll take this and rotate it around a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, instead of using the pen here, because I imagine most of us don't have a Wacom when watching these videos, I'm just going to use the mouse and the shape tools inside of Photoshop to create this star. So let's go ahead and just grab a rectangle tool to start off here. And I'll create a rectangle. And I'm just going to do a square for now. So I'll create just a solid rectangle here. And I'm going to make sure that the fill color is set to black. And the reason why is when we're working with custom brushes in Photoshop, if we create a custom brush that has a white fill, it actually won't work. It will be a nothing brush. So the stroke I'm just going to turn off. So we'll just have a solid fill and a stroke of nothing. Now I'm going to take this shape and just rotate it 45 degrees. So I'm going to hit Command T and rotate it 45 degrees like this. So I sort of get my diamond shape, and then I'll apply that transformation. Hit OK. And now I just want to take these two corner points and sort of pull them in. So here I'm going to get my white arrow tool, and I'll just click outside here to deselect, and I'm just going to select this left one. So I'll click a marquee around that. Holding down the Shift key, I'm going to count how many times I nudge this over. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key using the right arrow key. I'll just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's just do 10 to start off with. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'll select this one, hold down Shift, and nudge to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm starting to build out that diamond shape. Now that's obviously not enough. So I'll maybe do another 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'll pull this one in 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now that's roughly the shape that we want to work with. And I'm just going to consider that good enough for now. Even though maybe we could nudge in a little bit. Maybe I'll just do maybe 2 more on each side. So it's not quite so heavy in the middle. All right, now I'm going to take this layer that we've created. I'm going to right click it, and we're just going to say duplicate layer. So let's come up here and duplicate that layer. Hit OK. And on this new layer, I'm going to hit Command T to free transform again and just rotate it 90 degrees. So I'm just holding down Shift and pulling around 90 degrees like so. I'll apply that command. Now I'm going to duplicate that layer again. So I'm going to right click, duplicate that layer, and rotate this one, Command T, hold down Shift, rotate this one 45 degrees or so, something like this. Now I'm going to resize each of these layers a little bit. So this middle layer I'm going to resize quite a bit. So I'm going to hit Command T to free transform again. Now holding down Option and Shift at the same time, this will allow it to resize from the center point instead of from an edge. I can resize and just scale this middle point down quite a bit like this and apply that. And then on this cross section here, the one in the middle, that layer in the middle, I'll resize that one, doing the same thing, Option plus Shift, and resize that one down a little bit so it's not quite so pointy. And that is going to be our star shape. We'll consider that good enough. So once we have our 3 layers that make up our star shape, let's go ahead and crop this document down just to the size of our star. So if we just delete the background layer, we can crop everything out except the non-transparent pixels. So I'm going to take all 3 of these layers and just group them together real quick. And then that command can be done in the image trim. Trim will basically delete all transparent pixels here. So I'm going to hit OK. That trims our document down perfectly to the size we want. And now we can create our custom shape. So let's go ahead and create our custom shape next. We're going to come up to the Edit menu and come down here and select the option that says Define Brush Preset. Let's go ahead and select that and just give your brush a name. I'm just going to call mine Star. And I'll go ahead and hit OK. And next we're going to use this star back in our project. So let's just jump back here to our document. I actually don't need this one anymore, so I'm just going to close this down and say don't save. And back in here to our original document, I'm going to fill my entire background with black because it's going to be our sky, if you will, this space. And now I'm going to go grab my brush tool, and you'll notice this time when you grab your brush tool and you select the brush presets, your new brush should be the very last brush in the settings here. So just kind of scroll down if you have a lot and select that last brush, and you can see this is the brush we just barely created. And that brush preset will stay inside of Photoshop indefinitely unless you of course delete it yourself. So now this works like any other brush inside of Photoshop. I can increase its size, I can decrease its size, it has opacity, flow, it has all of the same brush settings that all of the other tips do inside of Photoshop. So we'll play around here with a few settings to create our sky. I'm going to switch my color here to white just so you can see I'm just clicking here and creating a few stars around, decrease the size, create a few back there, and there's our simple star. So let's go ahead and play with the jitter settings so we can paint our entire sky just in a few brush strokes. So I'm going to open up my presets and let's come into the shape dynamics. And I want the sizing of my brushes to be quite random. So I'm going to increase the size jitter a lot so that as I paint across here, I'm getting lots and lots of different sizes of brushes. Angle jitter, now you could maybe angle these guys around depending on how you want your stars to float around in outer space or not. But I'm going to leave my angle jitter at 0. And the roundness, I'm going to leave at 0 as well. So just the size in this instance. Next, I'm going to come into the scattering, and I'm going to really increase the scattering. And you can see right away what that's doing down here. So I'm going to increase the scattering. And now when I paint across, I'm definitely getting a whole bunch of scattering, and my size dynamic is working well. And so that's looking good. I'm just going to decrease the size of my brush here as I paint these across. And then we should be just about ready to go. All right, back here in shape dynamics, I'm going to, sorry, not shape dynamics, the brush tip shape. I'm going to increase the spacing quite a bit of my brushes. I don't want them so clustered together, so I'm just going to increase that out and do a little sample stroke there and see how that looks. Deselect, that's looking quite a bit better. Anyway, let's just sort of play around with these settings until you're happy with the way some of the settings work there. And then once you're satisfied, just come back to your document, and just in a couple strokes here, you can, sort of paint in your night sky in the background and have all of your stars. So that's a quick tutorial on how you can use your custom brush tips in a real project. We'll do one more of these in the next video. I'll show you another sample of using a custom brush that's kind of fun.